let me show you this. I just got in the mail today, but we're going to be doing a radio check on this real soon. This is actually a full power 40 channel 2-way emergency info C radio, but I actually tried it today. Mine actually works. This is actually the 80s girl, the 80s woman we're talking about. The guy told me on YouTube he did. He actually reached 4 miles away. So it looks pretty quite good. So this is actually the radio. And this thing works good, but there's actually a mod you can do to this radio. You have to turn it on with this button. Right here is your squelch switch right here. Local and distance, that actually, it's a squelch. You put it down to between halfway, between 5 or 7, but 7 or 5 is usually good, but you can go all the way up either way. Just depends what it is. I took this apart today and checked it out. Everything's working good. The push talk button's right here when you talk, and the microphone's right there. You poke. What I did is this little thing today. If you want to do a simple mod, I learned this from a bowfang radio a while back. Just take an X-Acto knife and scrape that thing, but make sure you take this apart first. They use X screwdrivers, and just what you do, and you get these here. Then this thing will pop off at the bottom, but don't lose the pieces when it comes out on the when this radio opens. Like this switch here will pop out, and these will pop out a little bit later. And that's all you have to do. And before you do that, when you take it apart, just remove these little switches here. You might have to pop them off with a screwdriver like that with my thumb, and usually will come off like that with a flathead screwdriver, very slowly. And that's the only way you get those switches out. Then that thing will pop up like that. Then if you're going to do the modification to the mic like I told you, be careful the speaker wire is down here, so it's going to pop out just like I'll show you just in a second. It'll just pop out just like this way or that way. And what you do to get the microphone to do this, to give you better little bit audio, just scrape this with an X-Acto knife. There's like a circle in there, but when you pop this out, the microphone will still be down in the bottom where it goes in there. You just have to take this thing apart, so you don't have to poke the microphone out that way. So when you scrape this, like you do in all radios, even same thing with all other walkie-talkies, you can actually increase your audio a little bit better. But the only bad point is dust will get in this, but it'll be fine. And the audio is pretty crystal clean as a bell. But the antenna, it came with all the stuff. What you do is pop this up like this. What I had to do, I put some duct tape under this thing, so it had a little pokey hole in it, but that was fine. So I put some tape on the bottom to hold this. It does stick very well. There was actually a little hole inside of this thing, but it was not taken apart, but it probably was poked by someone. But the radio worked, the antenna works fine. And I know the differences. You can actually run this with no antenna when I tried it today, and it works good. Even the antenna on top of this. And like the person said, it's only jack that does it. What you do, he's got to put it back down. But we're going to be doing a radio check on it sometime this week when I get this thing go out. I tried it today with my radios. It'll definitely sound good on my base station still. Listening on my Cobra 139 when I tried this out, and one of these walkie-talkies. And one of these walkie-talkies, if you had one of these, if you live about a mile away from someone's house or across the block, this will actually be quite good for this. It's actually a Midland 775 785, and I bought this a while back. It's a 4 watt to 8 watt radio, but usually keep it on the low switch on 4 watts so it doesn't sound terrible, because you have to keep it down to 4 watts because it sounds good. And this radio, I bought this, was about 15 bucks when I got it a while back. They usually go for a lot more. These radios go for these 50 bucks online, brand new. But I got it for $15 back to about 3 years ago on eBay. Same price as this. But this one you got here will actually give you a little bit better distance, I say. And it does not have static through the audio either way, so don't worry about that. That happens with walkie-talkies when they knock down. So it's quite good. But this thing gets out a little bit better range. It's got better audio quality. It's the same quality as the walkie-talkie, but instead, this actually puts out further distance. And they said it'll reach at least 5 to 4 miles with this antenna if you do it right. And the way you got to pull this antenna out, you got to be very careful when you pull these things out. And you just got to make sure you get down to the grip. And that's what you do. But you got to pull it out very slowly, so you don't want to jam it down. But it usually will come out either way. The first thing you start out, the way you get this open, you might have to use like a pliers or anything. It will not hurt. But it will come out either way, just like that, or you usually hold it on the side. Gotta do it slow and that way. If you can't get it out, there's actual ways to get it out. Just make sure you slide it up, or use like a screwdriver or a pin that will get it out that way. See, this one doesn't come out that good, but I know how to get it out no problem. But it usually will come out. I got it out before today. The way I do with this is use a screwdriver, push back down, pull this out slowly, you just slide these up. The way you get these out, if you have a problem like this, just stick a screwdriver in there or a piece of pin, not a pin, just get a pair of pliers, usually that will work fine, and it'll come out a little bit, then you stick this back in. But it works fine when I had this earlier today. And I might have to do that one at a time, but it's about 3 foot long like they say. The cords is actually a phono jack, because that one actually will plug into the base station in the radio here. But this looks almost the same as the similar jack. You can get one of these kind of jacks. A lot of ways you could do this. You could always get another one of these antennas and cut off the wire and solder to a connector. You can make one, and that usually will do that and connect to your mobile antenna or base antenna or something like that. Or you get a jack that does with the with the P259 or 258. If you find one of those and it connects to this with this jack, like a splitter jack, that would be quite good when you put it in there like that, like a two-way split or a one-way. Then you can connect your big mobile rig to it, or a base station antenna. It will work fine. And this is the Ultralight adapter. It's pretty fun. I ran it on my power supply today, which has a Ultralight adapter, and the audio came out pretty crystal clean, and it does pretty good for a little radio like this. It'll probably do good when it's try to test it out sometime. When the next time I go out, either way, I'll probably will videotape this and show you guys how this thing works. We might try to pick up some truckers down in the valleys and see at any local interstates and see how they can get a hold, how far we can get it out. And I'll probably record it that day when we get a chance. And we'll probably do it sometime when we have some time when we do that. And when it says front, that points that direction. So you lay this that way. The front side goes to the front of your hood. That's what it says that. But I'm telling you, to all my special friends to the world, you know who I'm talking about. And I know who actually owns one of these radios. Yes, I told you about how you do the modify hack to get the microphone increase a little better. If you have a lot of these radios have that, you just have to scrape with an X-Acto knife. But just take the radio apart first before you do that, so you don't poke the microphone. And I've done it on my Bofang walkie-talkie and my UAV5R. No, it was another one. I think it's the 88 version I have, the green camouflage one. And it had like a little hole in it. And they say you could scrape with an X-Acto knife to get the microphone increased. So I had to take my Bofang radio apart and to scrape the little microphone piece, not where the microphone's connected inside. You don't want to stick something in here. You can break your microphone inside, but you have to take this apart to pop this out. When you pop this out, you can actually scrape this with the X-Acto knife. You just scrape these two, just like what I formed with like a rectangle. That's what I did. You got to cut the sides to do that, and you'll be able to do good. There's actually a big circle thing, plastic things in there. It'll be fine when you do this. And it actually helped a little bit better today. It made my microphone increase a little bit better. And this pound meter actually works. And when you see the more bars, it'll receive. When you talk on it, it'll go this high up to 4 watts. And that's how it transmits. And it's working fine. It transmits all the way up here, sometimes up there when you get close. And a lot of times you transmit between there. So you have a good one, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just want to show you what one of these radios look like. A General Electric emergency one of those help full power two-way full power 40 channel two-way emergency info CB radio, but it's actually by General Electric. And this thing was created by during the 1980s, late 80s, probably early 90s, but the last time the guy told me on Farpoint Farms on his YouTube channel, he said they actually stopped producing that after 2002. So this radio is pretty beautiful, and once we get this thing tested out when I have some time, I'll do a video on this. But I just want to show you I got one of these, and I know who my special friend who has one of these radios, so I send it out to this person, and the other person has one of these too. But to my special friend actually has one of these, and I hope you actually quite learn how to use one of these. This will give you a start out. But the mobile rigs and Burb is better, and the base stations, but this will actually get you throughout the day, and it'll actually get you to do all those radio contacts in your local area. It should be able to work, but if you want to upgrade this antenna to something really good, like a Trim 300 like I have, the big one, it usually reaches about 12 miles down the valleys, but sometimes it can go 30, it depends on the area. That's not including with an amp. If you ran this with an amplifier on this, you would actually make this radio improve a little bit better. The one I actually had that amplifier I usually had a while back. And you can put a 100-watt amplifier in, not in the radio, just connect the jack with one of those connectors that goes to a base station antenna or something like that, and you'll be okay, be fine. And that 4 watts can turn into 150 watts, and sometimes if it's on sideband, you could go at least 220 watts, who knows. But if you were having run this in an amplifier for a 4-watt radio, you're probably hitting like 104 watts, probably around 100 watts, between 90 watts, but it should do good on an amplifier. But for a stock version right now, it should be doing good, like 4 to 5 miles, and sometimes you probably get 30 on some good days, and depends on what it is. It might be able to talk skip on channel 6, who knows, because it depends on the conditions. You might be able to talk to someone at least 600 miles away. It just depends on the conditions and the people who talk on there. But if you have these on higher terrain, and plus going on top of parking garages, these things will do quite good on parking lot garages, going on the top floor of it, and you'll get better distance range out. Even if you're on top of a bridge, if you're driving over a bridge, that will be quite good, or interstate that way. And a lot of times, if you're not in an area with lots of trees, if you've got a lot of water across a river, this actually antenna will shoot a little further distance either way. It'll reach at least 4 to 5 miles either way, but it should be able to do everything what you want to do with this radio. And the audio quality, it sounds good on the speaker. It sounds very clean, very quite nice, and it's very less static on this one, but it should be able to do the quality like the guy said on Broker 23 actually had one of these radios, had a different kind of model, but his did not have power line type noise like when the motor moves around. These don't have that, they say. So we're going to try this out when we have some time. When we get to go out the next time, I'll bring this camera, and we're going to test out. We'll go to see if we'll find one of those truckers down there at a local gas station when we drive by, and usually we'll see what happens when they get a radio check. But they should be able to hear me with this radio, and I tried it out today. It hears pretty quite good, and it sounds pretty crystal clean. And they do a little bit better than a walkie-talkie than those $50 walkie-talkie. It's like a $50 walkie-talkie. Instead, it doesn't have sideband, but it has AM. It's got the 40 channels, but it should do better than an average walkie-talkie. It's like a mobile type radio, like the 1970s. They actually came out with the radios, but it's like a 1970s type mobile rig, but a smaller size. That's what it is. Instead, this one's like you can pop it and ready to go, and also it heats up a little bit and feels warm, but it's pretty quite good. And this radio is going to be pretty good once I try out this way. And it came with this hook you can hook on top of your area. You could do. It usually goes on the back. It's not hard to do that. So you guys have a good day. Just want to show you this radio, this General Electric emergency radio. It does really quite good for $20 I paid for. I think I got it for like $8 on eBay, and it came total almost at least $18. And I got a good deal for 18 bucks. But sometimes you can get it a lot cheaper. But I had to grab this one because I got an offer deal on it when when he gave me an offer on his, so I took the offer. And there's a lot of these radios you can buy. I definitely put one of these in the car and keep them in. And if you have any friends, you can actually use these for emergency communication, but you can still use it anytime you want, like during an earthquake, during a hurricane, during a disaster, during a pandemic, or when your cell phones go down during a disaster, or something else. Either way, if you don't want to say certain things on the either way out there in the all over the world, but you could use this type of radio and people will be able to hear you, and you have to talk on that. And make sure you have a good handle when you start out. Learn your 1010 codes. Just be your normal ability prediction, which you are, and learn what other people talk like that. But you can learn your own skill, but mostly learn what the guys talk on the radio, the way they talk on Skip. And sometimes you might learn a lot of that stuff on YouTube videos. But the 1010 basic codes are very easy to do, and they're not hard. You just have to memorize it. You just use the basic ones like 10-4, 10-7. 10-4 means okay. 10-4 is okay. 10-20 means what's your location, where's your location at, and also you go like 10-10 on the side, and those are the basics you need. And you need 10-7 a lot of times when you go standby. And you can also say 10-10 on the side means standby, and that's what I'm saying. But just don't say good buddy on the radio like that lady said on her videos I've seen one time about truck driving. You gotta be careful on that. That's what they used to do back in the old days, but that's what it is. But also, you got to make sure, if you're going to do sideband, make sure if you're going to call out Skip, just make sure you say CQ. Say CQDX. Doesn't mean you're calling someone out in long distance in Skip land when the Skip is rolling. And you just say what your handle is, and you say where you're from, what location where you're at, and in the part of a state where you're at, and that's how you do it. Or you just want to talk to normal people, just say CQ, calling out this person, and they usually talk that. And QSO, and they usually talk like that. It's like ham on sideband. It's almost like that. And if you want to say I gotta go either way, and they usually let you know. And that's what you do. And it's the basic things on that. But CB, you can do the 1010s, no problem. So sorry this video's gone too long. Just want to show you out this General Electric, because a lot of these guys don't show these videos a little bit long. I've seen average at least 10 to 15 minute videos, sometimes a little bit less longer, and they don't show a full detail about the radio that very well. But I wish someone would show a little bit more full detail. And eventually, when we try this out, we'll show a little bit full detail what it does. And I'll bring a walkie-talkie with me. You can actually hear it when you're doing that. Alright, have a good week this week. Catch you all later. Just want to show you what this radio is. These are one of those general 40 channel emergency type radios, but it's better than, it's almost good as a walkie-talkie, but performs a little bit better, what I know. And it goes further out, just like a mobile rig. Instead, it's a smaller size of your hand. So have a good one. Catch you all later.